what we got here?
Well, what it is that we have obviously two 192s, which they're the backbone of the studio in terms of hard disk recording, and they've got an extension card as well. So it gives us those two. They can give you 16 analog outputs and 16 analog inputs, and with the extension card you get an extra 8 outputs. So basically you have 24 outputs. That works pretty well with the fader pack, but I'll come to that later on. The thing is, with this system we have the flexibility on working music products and post-production as well, because Pro Tools is part, as you already know, part of the Avid group. So they have the Avid editing suite, so it's all compatible in terms of doing music projects and post-production, which is great news. And again, we have it complete with the MIDI I/O and the sync. So basically everything is digi-designed here in terms of hard disk recording. The choice was made because obviously nowadays a lot of things are running digitally completely on the digital domain. So we wanted a mixture of classical gear with the flexibility of the digital side of the recordings, where you can do multiple editing, non-linear editing, and add plugin effects and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the reason why we chose Pro Tools. Is industry standard. Any commercial studio would need to have it, because it's gonna be sooner or later clients are gonna ask, have you got Pro Tools? So from the commercial side of the view, as well as you know, it adds to the whole spec list, like, okay, Pro Tools. Now the mic is you know, we just went for the latest mic, but we've been advised as well from our technical assistants that we shouldn't go for the top range, like 3 gigahertz quad. Yeah, we went for the 2.66 quad, because especially for music, that's more than enough. It's fully loaded with at the moment it's got 4 GB of RAM, and it has 2.5 terabyte of hard disks. Yeah, because as I said before, we're doing post-production as well, so working on this together with picture, you need a lot of space there to be able to, you know, to use both of the media together. We use a classical analog equipment, so instead of going for a large format mixing desk, which will provide you, for instance, with 24 mic preamps with 24 EQs and dynamic processing, but from the one kind. Let's say if you go for SSL, you're gonna get only SSL preamps, SSL, and as everybody knows, I mean, the combination of equipment is what it brings this different flavor into your music or your sound. So we went for classical mic preamps as API. We have 8 microphone mic preamps API, and then we have a stereo 1073. Which basically fulfills the needs of the studio in terms of mic preamplification. And yeah, in terms of compressing and EQing, we've selected again Neve and SSL. The reason being is I've worked with this type of equipment for a long time, and yeah, we think that is exactly what you need in your mixes.
Are you using any plugins for compressing and EQ?
Yeah, we have, again, I mean, we have the Waves Renaissance, you know, Waves fanatics always.
Right, yeah, everybody is.
Yeah, but we did an opening in Oxford, the plugins as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think they're rivals. They're pretty good in terms of restoration and maximizing. Obviously, we have Antares Autotune. Right. Yeah, and some native instruments in terms of soft synths. Going back to the analog equipment, obviously bass compressing in terms of like our mixes, we're passing it through the Neve compressor, and that gives us the classical flavor. So what you have there, you have an ultimate way of manipulating the audio through digital domain, in the digital domain, and then when you pass to the analog domain, it's just you got this classical flavor that all this equipment have created, you know, so many platinum albums. I don't even have to start like the 1073. You have the Universal Audio 1176. All this equipment here is just everywhere. In every platinum record behind it, there's an 1176 or a 1073.
So the background was definitely to try and get the classic equipment that a lot of people are going to feel comfortable with recording with and mixing.
Yeah, and we're looking for the ultimate quality at the same time. So, you know, combining with a large diaphragm mic in the class of Neumann, or even new Griffiths, or you know, even lately we've been thinking about the Horge, which it's a new valve microphone in the price range between £3,000 and £3,500, I think, retail price. Which I've worked with it actually, and it just sounds great. It just sounds very similar with the Sony one. So all the monitors that we have here, they're active. So specifically for there is no amplifier separately. So what Monty here has chosen in terms of monitoring, because I trust him when it comes to monitoring. He's very into his sound, you know. I can mix in a Genelec, I can mix in a NS10, but when it comes to sound, Monty always he goes for, you know, he's very picky. So he chosen very good speakers, which you've got the K&H, at the back ones, the big ones. So they actually can reach down to 40 Hertz. So the thing is, with the size of this room and the fact that they can reach very low, there's no need of a subwoofer.
Right.
So you can hear all the way. Obviously there is kind of a decline after 40, but I find a lot of times very tiring when I have to mix with a subwoofer always in place. So most of the times I switch it off, so I don't even bother too much. Now in terms of cinema, for instance, that you really want to play in the low ends, you still can use these ones. You still can use these ones to mix down there. Yeah, the new for the Griffiths, yeah.
And chosen over NS10s.
Yeah, personally, I've never been a big NS10 fan, even though I got my first pair in 1986, I think it was, and worked with them for a long time just because it was the right thing to do, and everyone else was doing it, so it was like, well, I must work with them and sort of get used to them. They do give you that industry flat response, you know, and you know, sort of like what you hear is what you're getting. But I found that coming from an experience of where I was in big studios, massive desks, 2-inch tape, NS10s, live band, and that's how it was. And then this transition into totally different setups, people doing drum and bass, doing music that had a massive bottom end. All of a sudden the NS10s just didn't give me the excitement that some of the other speakers that were starting to come out were starting to give. And bearing in mind that back in the day, the NS10s truly were flying the flag for speakers. And I think what happened is people sort of got caught up in thinking that, well, they still are. And what happened is there was just X amount of other ranges that came out that were very much doing the job that the NS10s were doing, but then wasn't giving you the NS10 sound that people were used to. And so certainly from coming into this environment, the choice of speakers were not based on me thinking, well, I've got to have NS10s because, you know, a studio is not a studio unless it does have a pair of NS10s.
They're a little bit dated as well at the moment. Nowadays the technology is pretty much old. Even Yamaha have stopped making them, and they have the new model now. I think it's called MS10 or something like that. Yeah. But you know, basically nobody's using them anymore, as far as I know. And the option as well on going with the guidance that, you know, as BBC bought hundreds of pairs of those guidance, especially in the post-production area, as a neophyte, is going to help a lot to be on the industry standard.